Hey guys, Tyler here. In previous videos, I've analyzed the lore of Star Trek The Next Generation Seasons 1, 2, and 3, in addition to highlighting some of the standout moments, comedic and otherwise, from TNG's first 74 episodes. I've also wanted to examine how each season and even each episode tackles theme, characterization, and other key aspects of quality media. TNG's first two seasons are considered by many to have weaker writing. Franchise creator Gene Roddenberry had a tighter grip on creative decisions, with his rules for human behavior in the 24th century making it difficult to write dramatic television. But in Season 3, Roddenberry took a step back, and arguably TNG's characters and storylines started to flourish. Story threads in Season 3 continue into Season 4, such as Picard's assimilation by the Borg, Worf's discommendation by the Klingon High Council, and more. Indeed, TNG Season 4 overall tackles the theme of family. In this video, I invite you to join me as I analyze this season's contributions to the broader Star Trek canon. But first, a word from today's sponsor, me. The average YouTube viewer, impressionable, innocent, blissfully unaware that their life could fundamentally change at any moment. But while we don't have all the answers, we are, however, aware of one thing: the cause. OrangeRiver merch. Many have fallen victim to the alluring effects of t-shirts, backpacks, hoodies, even ceramic coffee mugs, all of which can be purchased from the privacy of your own home at the click of a mouse. Now you might be thinking, I can just buy one item from the link in the video description. But let me ask you this. Can you be so sure? You begin with Star Trek, and then you venture down the path of other sci-fi franchises, Mass Effect, Metroid, and whatever else the future may hold. But while we may never know the full extent of this modern merch mania, we do know one thing. Don't buy OrangeRiver merch, or you might find yourself in the Twilight Zone. Let's get started. TNG Season 4 picks up immediately with the conclusion of the best of both worlds. 17 minutes in, we witness the aftermath of the Battle of Wolf 359, where a single Borg cube under Locutus's command has single-handedly destroyed 39 Starfleet ships, leaving only one intact. It's the most devastating military defeat in Starfleet history before the onset of the Dominion War. Among the survivors, we later learn, is Benjamin Sisko, who comes face to face with Picard 2 years later, knowing full well that Picard was Locutus. Picard's actions as Locutus continue to haunt him for, frankly, decades after his shipmates rescue him and he is disconnected from the Borg Collective. Jean-Luc's trauma is explored front and center in Season 4, Episode 2, Family, in which Picard visits his brother, sister-in-law, and nephew at the Picard Vineyard in La Barre, France. We also get to meet Worf's adoptive parents, the Rozhenkos, and the episode brilliantly juxtaposes these positive family role models with Jean-Luc's jealous brother, Robert.
Always so jealous, and I had a right to be. A right?
I was always your brother.
Watching you receive the cheers, watching you break every rule our father made and get away with it.
Though he does come around a bit.
They took everything I was. He used me to kill and to destroy, and I couldn't stop. I shouldn't have been able to stop them. I tried so hard. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't good enough.
So, my brother is a human being after all. This is going to be with you a long time, Jean-Luc. A long time. You have to learn to live with it.
Indeed, as we're about to see, the theme of family is ever present throughout Season 4. Episode 3, Brothers, sees Data and a reactivated Lore rescued from drifting through space by a Pac-led vessel.
We look for things.
summoned via homing signal to the secret hideout of their creator, Dr. Noonien Soong, who is close to death. We get the first glimpse of the emotion chip, which Data adds to his positronic net in the movie Star Trek Generations.
Oh, yes! I hate this! It is revolting!
More?
Please.
Long story short, shenanigans ensue and Laura escapes with the emotion chip, even though he already has emotions. As you can imagine, this is going to cause some instability, and Laura shows back up in Season 6. Episode 4, Suddenly Human, features an orphaned human boy adopted by Talarians, first name-dropped in Season 1. And the boy does not wish to return to human life. While at first it's suspected that the boy has been abused, the crew comes to learn that there is more to the situation than initially meets the eye, and the resolution is rather poignant. And the episode is a rather underrated exploration of how Picard approaches parenting as he fosters the boy during the midst of a diplomatic crisis.
You're probably not aware of this, but I've never been particularly comfortable around children.
Really?
Episode 5, Remember Me, sees another one of Wesley's experiments go wrong and trap Beverly in a pocket universe with increasingly wacky physical rules.
Computer, what is the nature of the universe?
The universe is a spheroid region 705 meters in diameter.
Gates McFadden gets to shine in this outing, which also brings back the Traveler to help Wesley get his mother back. Episode 6, Legacy, introduces Tasha Yar's sister Ishara, who gets the Enterprise entangled in a struggle between rival factions on their planet Turkana 4 after a freighter crash lands there. The highlight of the episode is definitely Ishara's chemistry with Data, and the episode's bleak ending underscores how trust can lead to betrayal.
Without trust, there's no friendship, no closeness, none of the emotional bonds that make us who we are.
And yet you put yourself at risk.
Every single time.
Episode 7, Reunion, is not only a major development in the arc of Klingon politics, but also in Worf's personal life. Ambassador Kalar comes back on board, this time with a child, their son, Alexander, who was conceived in the Season 2 episode, The Emissary, as opposed to her resistance to taking the oath of marriage in The Emissary. This time it's Kalar who wishes to unite their family, but now it's Worf who doesn't want to take the oath, since he fears his discommendation would dishonor Alexander. Meanwhile, the Klingon Chancellor Kimpek asks Picard to become the arbiter of succession, as Kimpek has been poisoned, either by Duras or Gowron. Picard helps confirm Duras's guilt after he kills Kalar, leading Worf to kill Duras, paving the way for Gowron to become Chancellor. In Episode 8, Future Imperfect, Riker wakes up what appears to be 16 years in the future as captain of the Enterprise, and he must help ratify a peace treaty between the Federation and Romulus. This future ultimately turns out to be an elaborate simulation, which Riker realizes after seeing the face of his deceased wife is none other than that of Minuet, the sentient hologram created by the Binars in the Season 1 episode 11001001. I did that from memory.
Perhaps it would be best if we discuss this.
Shut up!
I beg your pardon.
I said shut up! As in close your mouth and stop talking.
While at first this simulation appears to be a Romulan operation, in actuality it is meant to entertain an alien orphan left on the planet Alpha Onias III by his mother to protect him from invaders that killed his people. Fun fact, Future Imperfect is actually the first episode to feature nurse Alyssa Ogawa, who also goes on to become a recurring character. Episode 9, Final Mission, is Wesley's last assignment aboard the Enterprise before he departs for Starfleet Academy. Andy's going to college. Damn it. Steve's going to college. He and Picard are stranded along with an alien shuttle captain on an unforgiving desert moon. The trio's journey to find shelter and water leads to Picard becoming injured, and Wesley must care for him while dealing with the shuttle captain's impatience. The episode drives home Picard's role as Wesley's new father figure, with the two bonding more closely than ever as it seems Picard's final moments might be near. Luckily, the Enterprise crew finds their stranded comrades in this memorable episode's final act. Another fun fact, this episode marks the first mention of Boothby, the groundskeeper at Starfleet Academy, who we get to meet in Season 5. Episode 10, The Loss, is, in my opinion, the most severely underrated episode of Season 4. In it, Counselor Troy temporarily loses her empathic abilities, which in her mind compromises her ability to do her job. Her crewmates try to console her by reminding her that she is, in fact, half human, and we humans have to walk around every day without being able to directly read others' emotions. But Deanna won't have it. She basically loses it at Beverly in a memorable scene.
You have no idea what this is like. How can you know what it's like to lose something you never had?
I don't claim to.
And yet you're telling me that I'm supposed to get used to it.
If our positions were reversed, what would you tell me?
If our positions were reversed, I wouldn't have been in here treating skinned elbows while you were lying passed out on your office floor.
Seeing one officer yell at another in TNG might not seem like anything worth noting, but on the contrary, just like Wesley and Beverly's argument in Evolution.
Look, I have done everything that everyone has asked of me and more. And how can you know? You haven't even been here.
It does demonstrate how TNG has matured by this point to focusing on more character drama and interpersonal conflict. Deanna's empathic abilities are restored, ultimately, as the Enterprise escapes being pulled into a cosmic string by two-dimensional beings. Oh yeah, by the way, this episode, another rather tasteful exploration of disability, seems to, along with yesterday's Enterprise, confirm string theory as the grand unification theory in the Star Trek universe. Yeah, this is definitely written in the 90s. I don't really care for string theory, if you can't tell. I think it's just kind of silly. I wish I could invent 29 dimensions to make sense of the universe. Episode 11, Data's Day, features the wedding of Keiko and Miles O'Brien, DS9's one of DS9's power couples. We are told that Data actually introduced Keiko and Miles, and that Keiko and Data have been longtime friends. Something that we don't, to my recollection, ever really actually see the origins of, but they are friends nonetheless. This episode's structure, with narration by Data throughout, sets it apart from previous installments, and also introduces a number of iconic elements of TNG, including the ship's bullion barber, Data's cat Spot, and the unforgettable scene where Beverly teaches Data to dance, and the meme that scene produced. Episode 12, The Wounded, introduces the Cardassians, who of course go on to become major antagonists in Deep Space Nine. This episode establishes that an armistice between the Federation and Cardassian Union has ended their decades-long border skirmish, and also introduces the backstory of O'Brien's deadly encounter on Setlik 3, in which he was forced to kill a Cardassian soldier. Mark Alimo, who plays Gul Dukat in DS9 and played a Romulan in The Neutral Zone, plays Gul Masset in The Wounded. As the Enterprise must stop the rogue Captain Maxwell, O'Brien's former CO, from restarting the Cardassian War, questions abound as to the Cardassians' true commitment to peace, with the episode ending on an ominous line from Picard.
Take this message to your leaders, Gul Masset. We'll be watching.
The next three episodes, Devil's Due, Clues, and First Contact, are essentially more episodic entries in Season 4. In Devil's Due, Data presides over a trial to determine the fate of a planet tangled up in a scheme by a con artist posing as that society's devil. In Clues, the Enterprise crew must figure out why Data is lying to them about events that occurred while they were unconscious for 24 hours. As we find out, Data is ultimately acting in the best interest of the crew, as Picard ordered Data to keep secret their first contact with the xenophobic Paxons, who seek to erase the crew's short-term memories. And First Contact, one of my favorites of Season 4, sees Riker hospitalized on the pre-warp planet Malcor 3 after a botched surveillance operation preceding potential First Contact with the Federation. The episode is also another quintessential Prime Directive episode, as Picard struggles with how to handle the cultural contamination that has occurred. It also features my favorite guest actor to point out, Carolyn Seymour, who plays the Malcorian scientist Marasta Yale. Following this is episode 16, Galaxy's Child, a de facto sequel to Booby Trap. This episode is probably one of the most controversial in TNG, as Geordi's behavior throughout the episode has come under intense scrutiny, especially over the past few years. After learning that Dr. Leah Brahms is coming aboard to study engine modifications that Geordi has made, Geordi takes the opportunity to try and initiate a romantic relationship with Brahms. Recall that the Enterprise computer had programmed that holographic recreation of Leah to aid Geordi during the ship's time of crisis. Well, the affection that that hologram showed towards Geordi is juxtaposed with the real Leah, dismissive of how Geordi has fouled up her engines, demonstrative of the real-world give and take between designers and field engineers. This is played for laughs, and Leah's failure to live up to Geordi's expectations is lightly mocked by Guinan.
Computer glitch? Must have been. Maybe it was your old visor.
What are you talking about?
Well, the one you wore when you were on the holodeck with her.
Dan, it's the same visor.
Really? Well, I figured it was probably the one that lets you see what you want to see. Now, she's probably done the most horrific thing one person can do to another. Not live up to your expectations.
But Geordi is persistent, even inviting Leah to a private dinner in his quarters. Yeah, the phrase "coming on too strong" tends to come to mind, perhaps even the word unprofessional. His bubble is ultimately burst after Leah reveals that she is in fact married, which, by the way, occurs in the first scene inside a Jeffries tube. As another spaceborne life form attached to the Enterprise's hull drains energy from the ship, Leah calls up Geordi's holo program, originally designed as a simulation of the drafting room at Utopia Planitia.
Would there be any other files with data on the original engine specifications?
I believe so, Doctor.
This file utilizes the prototype engine schematic. I'll run it on holodeck 3.
She went where?
Holodeck 3, sir. I didn't think there was anything wrong with her seeing the file.
No, of course not. Nothing at all.
And finds her holodouble in the state that Geordi last left her, talking sexy.
I'm with you every day, Geordi. Every time you look at this engine, you're looking at me. Every time you touch it, it's me.
Geordi walks in on Leah, who is, well, you know, understandably outraged, feeling violated.
How dare you use me like this? How far did it go, anyway?
Was it good for you?
Leading Geordi to defend himself and swear that this isn't what it looks like. But after solving this episode's shipwide crisis, Geordi does apologize to Leah once and for all, and the two seem to hit off a platonic friendship. Nevertheless, several fans still consider Geordi's behavior in this episode to be, somewhat predatory. Their language, not mine. Though I think the crux of the issue is that the computer programmed this thing in the first place. Could Geordi have told the computer to make the hologram more professional? Sure, but he didn't really have a lot of time to be concerned about that. Should he have probably deleted it? Yes. And I do think there's something to be said about how other people can invade somebody's privacy in the holodeck, including walking in on Barclay's fantasy program in Hollow Pursuits. These episodes have become more relevant in the 2020s with the advent of things like deepfake porn, But I think it's really, really important to make a distinction between 21st century deepfake porn and, God, this video is going to get demonetized, and 24th century holograms. They are not the same thing. While Geordi's reaction to Leah's discovery could have been much better.
I'm guilty of a terrible crime, Doctor. I offered you friendship.
At the end of the day, I think it comes down to whether or not you think there's an issue with him kissing a holographic recreation of a real person in a moment that was supposed to be private and was supposed to stay private. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Regardless, Galaxy's Child isn't really that strong of an episode anyway, but I wouldn't recommend skipping it because it does offer some important development for Geordi and Leah's characters. And that context matters because in at least one possible future, they do get married. In episode 17, Night Terrors, the Enterprise is trapped adrift in a remote area of space, with the crew finding themselves unable to dream. The only ones unaffected are Data and Troy, though Troy does experience nightmares. We're treated to multiple scenes of Deanna flying through a misty environment towards the binary suns of the star system that they're in. These shots get shit on pretty frequently, but they're competently executed from a VFX standpoint. I mean, good compositing, color correction, all that stuff. Anyway, it turns out that the nightmares contain a coded message that helps the crew escape. Night Terrors is followed up by the much stronger entry Identity Crisis, in which the crew must save Geordi from being mutated into a member of a reclusive alien species. This is followed by another iconic Barclay episode, The Nth Degree, in which an energy discharge from an alien probe causes Barclay to become the smartest human who ever lived. This is in an effort to guide the Enterprise to the center of the galaxy to make first contact with the Cytherians, who gain knowledge by bringing other species to them rather than the other way around. Barclay is returned to normal by the end of the episode, but he does continue to gain his crewmates' respect, showing real growth as a person in an episode that allows Dwight Schultz to absolutely shine. Episode 20, Cupid, features the return of Vash as a Federation Archaeology Symposium is held on the Enterprise. This, however, is interrupted by Q, who whisks Vash and the Enterprise crew away to his recreation of Sherwood Forest.
I protest, I am not a merry man!
Forcing Picard as Robin Hood to rescue Vash in a grand demonstration of his romantic feelings towards her. This episode ends with Q offering to take Vash on the adventure of a lifetime to see parts of the galaxy that no human has ever seen, an offer which Vash can't refuse, and one we notably see the outcome of 2 years later with the DS9 episode Q-less.
You hit me. Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard.
Episode 21, The Drumhead, is another one of the most highly regarded of the series. In it, retired Starfleet Admiral Norris Sadie convenes a drumhead trial, basically a witch hunt, against an Enterprise crewman named Simon Tarsus, who is accused of aiding a Klingon spy for the Romulan Empire. Tarsus is himself 1/4 Romulan, a fact that he lied about on his application to enlist in Starfleet, but one that Picard won't let ruin his career. In episode 22, Half a Life, while Loaxana Troi is aboard the ship, she falls in love with a Kaylon scientist named Timicin, who is conducting experiments to save the Kaylon sun from dying. But Timicin is not long for this world. Not because he's particularly ill, but because on his home planet, once people reach the age of 60, they are put to death in a ceremony known as the Resolution. This custom understandably horrifies Loaxana, but Picard reminds her that it is not her place to interfere with Kaylon culture. This relationship between Loaxana and Timicin is very well written, in my opinion, making it all the more heartbreaking when Timicin goes home to die at the end of the episode, though Loaxana will be by his side. Episode 23, The Host, introduces the Trill. I've talked extensively about this episode on this channel before, particularly about how its depiction of the Trill differs substantially from their depiction in DS9 and beyond. After Federation Ambassador Odon is brought in to mediate a dispute between the moons of Peliar-Zel, a shuttlecraft accident puts the life of his symbiont in jeopardy. The symbiont is temporarily placed inside Commander Riker until a new Trill host can arrive, and Odon continues a romantic relationship with Beverly that she had had with Odon's previous host. The nature of Trill biology is different in this episode, as the symbiont seems to more fully take over the host body, as opposed to the blended personality seen with the likes of Jadzia and Ezri Dax. The episode ends when Odon's new host, a Trill woman named Kirill, is joined with the symbiont, but Beverly cannot bring herself to continue the relationship. She chalks this up to a personal failing of humans being unable to keep up with all the rapid changes. Beverly's dismissal of the possibility of dating Kirill has been criticized by some as being homophobic, but I don't really think this is very fair. I mean, you know, some people are just heterosexual. The episode also, in a way, contradicts the later established taboo against romantic reassociation between Trills and the partners of past hosts. It's also said that Odon cannot use the transporter, which some fans have speculated is a lie to cover up the existence of the symbionts. Episode 24, The Mind's Eye, continues the Romulan espionage arc, as Geordi is abducted and brainwashed to kill the Klingon governor of Krios Prime on the eve of their possible independence, which would start a war between the Klingons and the Federation. The crew ultimately prevents this assassination, and the episode ends with Counselor Troy telling Geordi it will take him a long time to recover from this violation of his mind. Additionally, the Kriosians, while not seen on screen, do go on to appear in the Season 5 episode, The Perfect Mate. Interestingly enough, possessing similar makeup to the redesigned Trills in DS9, though their spots don't go all the way down.
All the way.
In episode 25, in theory, Data pursues a romantic relationship with a lieutenant named Jenna, and fails spectacularly. But not all at once. Data is incredibly kind towards Jenna after she has just broken up with her boyfriend, and he makes strident attempts to be romantic. But in classic Data fashion, he over-emulates what he perceives as the most effective strategies for romance instead of just being himself, which makes Jenna realize the whole thing was a mistake. While tragic in a sense, of course, the episode is pretty entertaining and is a pretty compelling demonstration of the dangers of being somebody's rebound.
You have often expressed dissatisfaction with the Spartan nature of my quarters. Is this an attempt at embellishment?
The cat's out of the bag.
Spot?
And finally, episode 26, Redemption, continues the Klingon story arc as the Empire is on the brink of civil war. Picard and Worf travel to Kronos to attend Gowron's installation, but he has a challenger, Torol, son of Duras, who has the support of most of the High Council. Worf recruits Kern and 4 squadron commanders to defend Gowron against the House of Duras's forces, beginning the Klingon Civil War. After driving Duras's forces away, for now, Gowron's ceremony is completed, and he restores Worf and Kern's family name. But the fight has only begun, and Worf, forced to choose between his Starfleet career and loyalty to the Empire, resigns his Starfleet commission to serve aboard Gowron's flagship, the Bortas. The episode also confirms that House Duras is still secretly colluding with the Romulans and introduces the character Sela, daughter of Tasha Yar's counterpart from the alternate timeline in yesterday's Enterprise, and a Romulan general. First teased in The Mind's Eye, Sela plays a major role in Redemption Part 2, the Season 5 premiere, something that I think is best saved for the next installment of this recap series. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below and don't forget to share it. That stuff really helps me out. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that as well so you won't miss future uploads, and click the bell icon to receive all notifications. If you want to support my work even further, becoming a patron or a member is a great way to do so. Links to those, as well as my social media and merch store, are in the description. That's all I have for this week. Live long and make it so.
I am not a merry man.